Oh, right. It's been so long since I used this. Is it?
Is this too close?
Huh?
Is this too close?
What? This?
Yeah, is this too close?
I could you do this actually.
Okay. No, like
Yeah.
you reaching.
Yeah, it's reaching. What's up? What's up? What's up? As you come in, let me know where you are logging in from. If you can hear me, it's right there. If you can hear and see me, let me know where you're logging in from. Thanks for thumbsing up this live. So if you can see and hear me, let me know where you're logging in from. Put it in the chat box. Hey, Trisha. Today should be really good, but also gonna make it quick because we gotta figure out what we're eating. And I don't know. We just wanna not be here long today. Last time we was on here for like an hour and a half.
Almost 2 hours actually.
Hey, Valerie. Hey, Honeybee. Honeybee said North Carolina. Deidre. Hey. Hey. Hey, Sybil from Brooklyn.
New York in the house.
All right, y'all. So I'm going to do most of the talking first, and then Andy's just going to chime in later on when we get to the tips and stuff. But hey, it has been a while since I've been in my space to do Hustle Talks, and today is actually episode 9 of 10 for this season. So as of next week, you want to make sure that you're here because that's going to be the last live episode for not a long time, but for a little minute because we're doing some improvements to it for season 2, which is going to start in Q4, which I am super excited about. But so happy to be in this space. It has been quite a busy August for me. And so I feel like I'm coming up for air in September. So as you come in, drop in the chat where you're checking in from, how you feeling today. It's Monday, it's Labor Day. I know that it's a holiday technically, but still wanted to do this live because we missed a couple. And so I wanted to make sure that I did this Hustle Talks live. But in August, I did so much and I actually networked a lot, right? So I went to DR for a mastermind. So I told y'all about this on a previous episode of Hustle Talks. It was a trip that I paid $10K for to improve my business, improve my mindset, and really to unlock that millionaire level. And so it was so good. After that, I flew straight from DR to Puerto Rico, where Andy then met me. And then our family joined us 2 days later. And basically, it was my mother-in-law's birthday, but we turned it into a full family trip with my mom, my dad, Andy's parents, Andy's siblings, so all of my in-laws really. And so we all had such a good time, and it was just nice to see our parents, especially our dads, just be so chill and just do the funniest things. It was like their inner child was unleashed, so that was really good. And then after Puerto Rico, we flew from Puerto Rico to Miami, which we're from Miami. So we flew to Miami and I was there for my friend's birthday. Then we came back to Atlanta, in which I then helped my friend Kai with her booth for InvestFest. And then we attended InvestFest. So it was really busy, but really good because we were literally around people, especially me. Like, I know you chilled for like the first half of August, but it was really good. I was around people all of August, and I'm a person who I have a social battery. So when it comes to networking, it can be very, I don't want to say difficult, but it's a task. I have to build my energy up to actually network. And before, especially when I was new to entrepreneurship, it was very daunting to me. Like, I would get in rooms and be hesitant on who I spoke with or like certain things I would say because naturally I'm very extra. I speak with my hands. I'm also Caribbean and from Miami, so certain things I say, do, or how I look can come off as what's the word? Like, I don't want to say, I guess, rude or whatever, like, because in Miami, people aren't really nice there. Right. So a lot of like my mannerisms can come off kind of harsh to people if they don't know me. So I was very reserved when it came to networking. And so if you're someone like that, where you're hesitant when it comes to networking and meeting new people, you kind of have to take your time to analyze the situation. Let me know in the chat. Part of that, people say, like, chalks up to me being like an antisocial extrovert. slash Scorpios. They said that Scorpios are sometimes like that. I don't know. I'm not huge into horoscopes, so yeah, I don't know the full thing. But if you are like that, if you have to take time to get to know someone before you kind of unleash your true self, let me know in the chat box. Put a 1 in the chat box if you take some time to really, like, you know, unwind when you meet someone new, because that is how I am 100%. I rather sit back and kind of see how the person is, kind of pay attention to like their energy, their vibes, the way they move and things like that before I actually open up. And so for me, networking is a huge task. And I think I've gotten better at it. I think I've gotten a lot better at it. And that's why I wanted to do Hustle Talks about the networking tips. Because I've been there too. I've struggled. I know how it feels to kind of want to be in a shell or just want to like, you know, just put your guard up. Not necessarily because you're shy or anything. And I see a couple people putting the 1 in the chat. So if you can relate to me, put a 1 in the chat. But not necessarily because you're shy, but really because for real, you don't like people like that. Like I would just keep it a buck. It's like some people have done me so wrong in the past, and it's like, who do I trust and who do I give my energy to, especially when I'm in certain rooms. But then when you're an entrepreneur, it's not necessarily what you know, it's more so who you know. Right. So it's important for you to be able to be social and be around people and talk and mingle and do all the things. And I'm blessed that I have met some amazing entrepreneurs now that are in my corner, but it wasn't always like that, right? And so definitely want to touch on that because of that. That's 1. So because I've been, you know, struggling, but then 2, because August was just so many people for me. It was so many people, especially the first part of August where I was in a house, a 9-bedroom villa with women I have never met before aside from my coach. I had never met these people before. Like, and then 1 man. So George from Melanin Money ended up joining us later on that week. And so I'm in this space with all these people that I don't know, and I'm living here technically for a week. I can't just walk around and not say nothing. So it was a task. And so that is one of the reasons why I want to talk about this. I know I shared millionaire lessons and that mindset stuff, but a big chunk of all the things that's to come the rest of the year and also next year is a result of me networking there in DR, but also afterwards in other spaces, including, you know, InvestFest, honestly. So InvestFest was the last thing that happened. The last thing that we went to together. But I'm the type of partner, wife, before fiance, girlfriend. I'm like, Andy, do your thing. Like, you could be separate. And so we weren't together the entire time. So it forced me to mingle as well. And then Andy works the room, which is why he's sitting right here. So I know he hasn't said anything yet. But he is a social butterfly, right? And so, like, I have this big personality, but I'm very cautious of people. And I see that Deidre said, I like people nonetheless, but I want to be sure. I feel that. I semi-like people. But Andy, on the other hand, he can talk to anybody at any time about anything, and he just works the room. So I felt like it was good to have him here, especially because this weekend I dedicated my time to hanging with him. So I'm like, I'm gonna do everything with you this weekend. So you might as well just come on this live with me and talk about networking because you're so good at it. But let's start with InvestFest first, right? So let's segue into the networking tips by starting with InvestFest. So we went to InvestFest last year. That was our first time. Hadn't heard of it before. Well, I hadn't heard of it before until you mentioned it to me. And then this year, we went again. We had thought about going before. I honestly hadn't heard about it this year either, like as far as the dates and stuff go. And I know that sounds crazy, but I wasn't on social media for a while.
There wasn't really marketing behind it, to be honest. They just threw it at we're back. It's here. And then people's like, oh, well, we know it, so we're going to go to it. So
and that's how they got 20K people in there. Insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. So we went again this year. Honestly, huge shout out to Kai, because if it wasn't for my friend Kai and her talking to me about this booth months ago, I probably wouldn't have known about like at least the date. I knew about InvestFest from last year, but I wouldn't have known about this year's InvestFest if it wasn't for her, like talking about the theme for her booth and all that. Which check out Subtle Hair Care, y'all. Amazing. Okay. Shameless plug. But so we went to InvestFest this year, and I want to just talk about it. Like, what were some of the pros and the cons? Maybe we do like one each.
Okay.
And talk about it from a networking perspective. Or no, let's do pros and cons first, and then we'll talk about about how it was for networking. So you go first. What was a pro for you, or do you want to do your con first?
I'll do a pro. I think that obviously it's a great thing they had it again, and they grew in size in comparison to where they were last year. So a lot more people, different speakers here and there. And a lot more, I think there are also a lot more breakout rooms than there were last year. So I think that's a pro, giving people a variety of information. We'll just leave it at that. I think that was a good thing.
Okay. Piggyback off of that, a huge pro for me. Well, my favorite session was the podcast session.
Yep.
So I definitely agree with you when it comes to the breakout sessions that they had this year. Mm-hmm. But a huge pro for me, I would say, is that that's kind of networking. Hold on. Let me think. Outside of networking, a huge pro is the speakers, right? So the speakers that were there, they're top level. Like, you're talking about P. Diddy. Mm-hmm. You are talking about Jeezy. Mm-hmm. You're also talking about amazing women. Kiana Watson. You have Ari was there. Tabitha Brown was there. Miel CEO was there.
Robert Smith was there.
David Shands was there, which he hosted my favorite session period. And we didn't go to a lot of sessions. That was the thing, like, because we were really late. Well, first day we came there at 11. Second day we got there at like 3 p.m. ish. And yeah. So we missed a couple of things. But I mean, we were intentional too.
So that's why I didn't bring it up in that sense. But yeah.
But that's my pro. So what's your con when it came to InvestFest?
I'll probably take the easy one. One of the cons, I think, with a lot of people, a bigger space, logistics just wasn't up to par. With logistics being an issue, but everything being so far apart, and scheduling wasn't up to par, because there are things that I thought that could have happened at a different time frame, so that it allowed for people to didn't have to choose one over another, and that would allow for more of an impact for the people to that actually came for David Shands with the podcast session, or they wanted to understand tax, or they wanted to understand audit real estate, whatever the case may be. I just think that they could have been a different workaround with the scheduling, and logistics in general was a nightmare for a lot of people, vendors and general admission. So I think they could have done better there.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about like the breakout sessions and stuff, I could see the pain from the scheduling part for the person who had to put it together. Yeah. Because if there's all of these great people who are having all of these great sessions, somebody has to overlap. I can see that.
Yeah.
But I can also see what you're saying, where maybe choosing people who were a little bit more polar opposites would have helped. But I don't even know. Honestly, I didn't see the full schedule because, once again, I was just there. So I didn't see the full schedule, so I don't know if there were any polar opposites to be had.
Yeah.
I definitely can agree, because when we were in David Shands' podcast session, where he brought out Donnie, and then he brought out, what's his name? Jonathan. Finesse, what's his name? Finesse Kid? What's his channel? The Finesse King. Club. Yeah, Finesse Club. When they had all three of them, and they were competing with Jeezy right next door. And so you heard the beat going because Jeezy's interview had to have been 5 minutes.
Maybe tops.
I don't even understand how it just went by so fast, and then all of a sudden he was performing. And we went to see Jeezy too, but I'm all about, getting all my gems. So I sat there until the end.
If it's Chris Brown, you're running.
Yeah, if it was Chris Brown, I was out there.
She was-
If it was Chris Brown, I was gone. I probably wasn't even at the podcast session if Chris Brown was with me. I wanted a front row. Put me on the stage.
But there's some Chris Brown versions of Jeezy fans that was like, gotta go. And I think he even talked about that, David, and talked about how the room went from, we got a lot of people here, we're ready, and then they come out, I was like, all right, we lost at least 60% of the people that was here from the previous sessions. But I mean, it still was a good turnout for his session. I thought it was good information in general, but a session like that, I would have loved to move it up.
Yeah.
There was another session on AI earlier. I don't know if it was the day before or the day after, just off my head. No offense to AI is great and everything. Just think about the interaction and the information that was shared. They could have definitely switched in terms of positioning, in terms of what was more relevant to the people and who wanted to actually hear. So just to add on to that.
Yeah. For me, my con from InvestFest, I feel like it has to do with logistics too, but not in that sense. More of signage, I think. Signage and the decor and everything. Because for me, when I think about events, especially because I like planning events for people. Right. And so I'm heavy in the decor space where I want things to look a certain way and it to be over the top if we have the budget for it. And so just thinking about like when I have my first business event, it's going to be a theme. It's going to be well decorated and there's going to be as much signage as possible. Even when we go back to like the wedding and stuff, I'm thinking like, I know they're going to have signage because this venue better have signage. You know, we paid so much for it, but I still was like, let's get these signs printed. Let's make sure that we have ushers. We had a head usher, 2 junior ushers. We gave them a map. We included a map on the invitation. We did all of that. We had the ushers guiding people from point A to point B in addition to the signage and things like that. And so for me, signage was a big thing as well as decor. I know when it comes to an event that large, a lot of your money is not going to that, especially when you have speakers like Jason Lee and all these like random celebrities that popped up out of nowhere and had like little speaking bits and things like that. Cam Newton and all that. I know that a lot of the money is going to getting them there. Right. Whether they paid them specifically for speaking or not, a lot of money went to getting them there, making sure that their needs were tended to, making sure that things ran smoothly and all that. But day one, when I got dropped off, Andy dropped me off at building C. It was in building B. Yeah. And my little legs had to speed walk. At a certain point, I just stopped speed walking. And I was just like strolling at one point. I'm getting there when I get there. But I felt like I was on a mission because day one, I had a friend from college who was waiting on me. But then I also wanted to get to Kai before the rush came because I knew lunch was starting. I wanted to get to Kai's booth, to put my stuff in the break room, to check in with her, get our picture, all that stuff. And I was footing it for what felt like forever. Like it felt like 5 years, honestly, from C all the way to B. Once again, I ain't know nothing about InvestFest, so I didn't know it was in building B, so that's my bad, but you dropped me off. Yeah, you dropped me off there. So I'm over there. Good thing I didn't wear my heels. I had my sandals on and I had my heels in my hand. Yeah. But I was walking forever and there was literally no signage that said where I needed to go. There were these little TVs in the Georgia World Congress Center, which they need to do better. The Georgia World Congress Center needs to like get bigger TVs. They make enough money. They need to get bigger TVs. The TVs were like this small, no kidding. And it was up top. Like I'm short. I'm 5'3.5". And so you got these high ceilings. They're up here. The TV is this small. And then the words are even smaller. Right. And you know how when you're walking, you're on a mission, right? You know how when you're on a mission, it's hard for you to pay attention to
those small things.
Yeah, pay attention to the little small things, what's there or whatever. So like I'm missing all of these little TVs for a while, and then I notice it's like, oh yeah, it's in building B, but it still doesn't really tell me where I'm going. I just assume that I'm gonna walk and I'm gonna run into building B eventually. So that's definitely the con for me. But yeah, so now that we said the pros and cons about InvestFest, I think one of the huge pros that we both agree on is that it is a huge networking opportunity, right? Why do you say that?
I mean, you got to think about it. You put 20,000, 10,000, 15,000 individuals that are in the entrepreneurship space.
20,000.
That was the number.
Yes.
20,000 in the space, for them to be around like-minded individuals that are trying to grow their business, expand their business. So you're gonna have a lot of the same individuals that are doing the same thing. So it's the perfect spot for you to network with people that are in Atlanta, and also that's just all over, because you're gonna find there are people that somebody said they traveled from what was it? She asked the furthest somebody traveled
Haiti.
from it was Haiti. Didn't fact check that, but there are people that travel from just about anywhere, Canada and Haiti, LA, out west, whatever the case may be, and that could be your next business partner. That could be your next guest on a podcast. So it is like the perfect spot for you to just mingle and meet new people, but you guys are all intertwined in the same bubble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely big. And I was upset day one when I didn't meet anyone. I was like, what the heck is happening? Like, why am I not running into anyone? Like last year for InvestFest, I ran into people. Well, people ran into me.
Mm-hmm.
People ran into me a lot, and it's probably because it was a smaller space. Same Georgia World Congress Center, but in a different building.
Right.
And I met people who were subscribed to my channel, which I was shocked about because I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I didn't know people would recognize me. But then this year, day one, I didn't run into anybody that I wanted to meet, or like anybody that I wanted to meet, period. Whether they were a subscriber or whether it was someone that I looked up to,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so day two, I came back on a mission. I was like, I'm going to meet people. I'm going to meet some of my virtual mentors in my head. I saw that somebody said that Tabitha Brown is her bestie or something in her head. There's people who are my mentors in my head, but there are also people who I'm a part of their programs, or like we've talked before somehow on the internet world, and I wanted to put like a physical face and body to it. So I wanted to make sure that I met those people on day two, which day two was way better than day one.
Did you feel lost day one? Like at
yes.
some point in time?
I was hungry. I was hangry, actually. So I was hangry. I was lost because it was so much to take in. And once again, I didn't see anyone. And then I spilled something on my blazer. So I was just like, So yeah. So anyway, so that was that. So with InvestFest, though, like you said, it's a huge networking opportunity. But we also realized that some people who were there weren't really networking for real. And this is something that I see when I go to business events, period. And you should coordinate the production next year. I have my own production that I'm coordinating next year and this year, which I'll talk to y'all about in a second. But when it came down to the networking point, like that is always on point, right? Like they're always on point with the networking piece, to just see all of these, like you said, like-minded people in one room, not fighting, not arguing, getting along is amazing. But that literally segues us into this networking piece, because there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And not only that, but if you're like me, I saw a couple of people put some ones in the chat where you kind of like people. It's hard for you to get out of your shell and really talk to people. And so I had to learn certain things. And so I want to give some tips when it comes to networking, because honestly, your network, and it sounds cliche.
That's the truth, though.
Yeah, your network is your net worth is literally the truest saying to date. I used to hear it when I was early on in my entrepreneurship journey, and honestly, before I was an entrepreneur, I would always hear that. I would always hear it's who, not what, all that stuff. But then when I became an entrepreneur, and when I put my goals like into like when I see my goals big picture, it's like you need certain people to get there. But then you also want to be around certain people too, mindset wise. Right. Because if you're around the wrong people with the wrong mindset, you're not going to want to get up and push past all the obstacles that are going to come in your way. You're not going to want to even think that you can do better, bigger, like more. You're not going to think any of that stuff. So the people that you surround yourself with honestly do matter. And I think a big mistake that new entrepreneurs make is they think that, one, they need the support only from their family and friends that they have right now. And two, they beat themselves up when those people don't necessarily support them,
Mm-hmm.
or when they don't have similar like vision, mindset, anything like
Right.
them, honestly. And so if you are either a new entrepreneur or someone who is like beginning to get the pieces together to start their business, and you have ran into difficulty with a family or a friend where they didn't necessarily agree with what you were doing, they didn't fully understand what you were going to do, or you guys just didn't see eye to eye when it came to business. If you have ever experienced that, or if you're experiencing that right now, put a 3 in the chat. So if you have experienced any type of anything, any type of headbutting, any type of disagreement, any type of misunderstanding with a current family or friend when it comes to the business you own or are going to own, put a 3 in the chat. So I can see if y'all understand what I'm saying. And so, yeah, I think that's a big mistake. And so it's important for us to network, meet like-minded people,
Right.
get people into our corner, build a support system. Everybody, you won't be the same level of friends with everyone, but at the end of the day, it's still powerful to have a powerful network. So, yeah, I want to get into these tips. So put a 3 in the chat. Put a 3 in the chat if you agree with what I just said. It's Deidre talking, and y'all were networking in the chat. I saw too in the comment section. And if you're watching the replay of this, still comment as if we're actually live, because I see those comments too. Okay, so self-love, love yourself, put a 3 as well. Okay, so I got some people in here that agree. All right, so Andy, let's get into these tips then, because I want to make sure that y'all walk away with some actionable tips that you can use when it comes to networking, to break out of your shell and to really start getting to know people that you need to know so that you could get to your next level. So yeah, we talked about this a little bit.
We did.
And so I got it in a certain order, and I'll tell you, like, I'll say what the tip is, and then you can just add on. Maybe we go back and forth. Okay. So the first one, you could take it away, and then we'll go back and forth from there.
You kick us off, yeah.
Okay. So the first tip when it comes to networking is to be intentional. That's a tip that you added to this list. So what do you mean by be intentional?
So when it comes to any event, whether it's big or small, no matter how big your audience is, you got to be intentional with who you're going to speak with or what you're going to say. So I know a lot of people, Chanel said earlier, I'm good at just working the room. But my goal isn't to just walk around the room and meet everybody and be like, man, I'm doing a great job. This is amazing. I can meet 200 people and can walk out with meeting 200 people, but walk out like I got nothing from those conversations because I didn't ask the right questions and I didn't really go to the individuals that I know would actually benefit me, or vice versa. We could add value into each other's lives, whether it's personally or business-wise. So what I like doing is I would, scan the room and still walk the room essentially. But if you know that there are certain individuals that are going to be there, you want to make sure that you are intentional with the conversations that you have with them, the questions that you ask them, so that, for example, I'm not going to meet someone and ask them, what's the last book that you read? That really may not have any value to me whatsoever. But it sounds like a good question to ask, but it doesn't necessarily resonate with something that would benefit me right now. So you want to be able to ask questions that are correlating to your business, your day-to-day, and also, be engaging in that conversation. So be intentional on who you actually speak with and ask the right questions with your conversation. So you make sure that time that you spent, whether it's 30 seconds or 5 minutes, you actually spent and that person remembers you for something.
Oh, okay. And so for me, when you said be intentional, I think that we talked about knowing why you're in the room and who you need to connect with as well. Because, hey, Toko, knowing who is in the room is important, because I don't know, I don't want to go in detail with that, but just know who's in the room and why you're in the room. So you should go to an event, right? You should go to every event with a purpose.
Yep.
You shouldn't just be going to events just because you want to enjoy free mimosas, free food, whatever the case may be, right? So you want to make sure that you're going to the event with a purpose. Your purpose is to learn, yes, but when it comes to an event and networking, you should have a purpose as well. So when you go in there, what's your purpose? Being intentional about that purpose, being intentional about the space and the room that you're in. So if I go to a Christian women's conference where we are talking about reviving our faith or something, right? Knowing who's in the room, my goal of who I want to connect with or like why I'm in that room is going to be different than an InvestFest. Right? It's like, although I'm the same person, I'm multifaceted. So with me being a multifaceted person, the events that I'm going to go to are going to be a reflection of some element of myself. So whatever element of myself that I'm focused on developing by going to that event, the intentionality for networking should align. That's what I think, right? And another thing too, when it comes to networking, do you mean like be intentional with who you speak to too? Because you said the conversations you have. So does that mean just what you're saying, or you mean the people too?
It's a mixture of both, but this is not to discredit the individuals that are in the room. That you're gonna walk in and say, I'm just going to speak to a certain person because of how they look or whatever the case may be. The information is important, but you also want to make sure, if you, like you said, you've done your homework and you know the reason why you're trying, what's your purpose and why, what you're trying to get out of these connections today. You want to make sure that those conversations are on point with those people that you're having a conversation with.
Okay. So from my experience, right, because a lot of people who are subscribed to my channel are women. It's like 80% women. So a lot of people who are watching this right now, they're women, and it's annoying, but we have a tendency at times to be like very weird. I'm gonna just put it like that. Like, women have this tendency to be weird when it comes to meeting other people. I've experienced it. I've witnessed it. It's weird. Yes, it's honestly weird. And I like to think that I have the mind of a dude sometimes, like the rationality of a dude, because I don't know. I don't get into a lot of like the girly nonsense, like when it comes to being petty about certain things. I'm very like, okay, what is it? I'm black and white. Is it this or is it that? Right? These kids, they can't really hear you. So make sure that you talk to the mic, babe. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? I was supposed to order mics and I forgot to order the separate mics. Can y'all hear me? Put a yes in the chat if you can hear me. And then I'm gonna let Andy say something, and then y'all put I should have did numbers. So if you can hear me, put a 5 in the chat if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Let me know. Let me know. I also think I can increase the input. Y'all can hear me?
Testing.
I speak very loud, so let's see. They said they can hear me. Y'all can hear me clearly?
She can hear us both.
Okay, y'all can hear Andy?
Testing.
All right, cool beans. Shakoria said yes. Deidre said 5. All right, cool beans. I want to make sure because the tips get better. Okay, so babe, I guess just maybe I'm gonna slide the mic closer to him. Oh, okay. All right, but yeah. So I was saying, girls could be. My mom's here. Girls can be, weird, right? Yeah. If you guys have ever experienced a woman being woman, girl, whoever, whether it was it might be throughout your life. If you've ever experienced a girl or a woman being weird to you, like giving off weird vibes when you met them, put me in the chat. If you've ever experienced weird vibes from another woman, put me in the chat. I want to make sure that like I'm not alone here, because maybe I'm the only one experiencing this. Well, you said you witnessed it, so maybe I
see it all the time.
You do?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it before.
It's unfortunate, but put me in the chat if you've ever experienced that.
Cautious.
What does that mean, cautious?
I think she's taking the same approach as before, where it's more like, I want to meet people, but I'm being cautious of what I say to certain people because I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, right? I see some memes all the time. My mom said, certain women act weird. So when you say be intentional and decide who you want to speak to, and we talk about knowing what room you're in, why you're in the room, all that stuff, sometimes you're not met with the same energy when you intentionally go in there to meet someone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And sometimes that person's being intentional is not really being fair. It's kind of being stuck up. So I feel like there's a line between being intentional and what's the other word? I wrote it down because I knew I wasn't going to remember it. Superficial. There's a line between being intentional and being superficial. Is there a way that we can distinguish that? Because I feel like as women first, as entrepreneurs second, we need to be able to check ourselves when we are getting too superficial. And let's talk about that one first. Yeah.
So you're saying, is there a way to distinguish that?
Is there a way between being intentional? Like, so if you're telling me be intentional with who I'm speaking to, the rooms that I'm going in, when it comes to being intentional to who you speak to, you said it's not about how they dress or whatever, but what are some key factors that I should pay attention to? Like, so that way I'm being intentional, but for the right reasons. Because I feel like some women, they go in there and their be intentional is, oh, I'm going to talk to the girl who matches my fly. So the girl who got her nails done with all the colors, all the rhinestone, the girl who got her hair laid to the gods, the girl who got the best outfit on, the girl who got the most followers, the girl who got this, the girl who got that. Whoever that girl is or those girls are in the room, I'm intentionally going to connect with them because I feel like that's my caliber of women. Some people are being intentional and they're creating these vague metrics of who they should connect with. So what are the true metrics? Like, let's put it like that. If you had to say like maybe 3 metrics that we should like define when it comes to intentionally picking someone like in a room to speak to and connect with, what metrics do you think those are?
Well, I think besides the whole like being intentional thing, I think everyone, guy or girl, needs to be open. You need to be open to. So if you're asking from a person that's coming to talk to another person, you need to be open to the conversation. You need to be open to understanding and learning what that other person has going on, what they're doing, right? So if you're saying in terms of that aspect of trying to be intentional but not be superficial, there's a lot that could be said here with how people can actually approach this, because you need to like. So I'm going to take InvestFest for example. There's people that I met at InvestFest that I didn't know anything about them, but we had a casual conversation that by looking at this individual, I would have never thought this about that person. But because I was open to the conversation and I approached the person or they approached me and we had an open and honest conversation, I was able to learn more about them, and all that, everything else was put aside. I think people need to take away the what I called it before. I think a lot of people do marketing nowadays based off of social media and not based off of real life. So people will walk in the room and say, I'm going to do it with this top layer of individuals because I know what they do and I know what they do and I know what they do. But if you don't know what that person does, I could be a person walking around making $5 million, but you don't know who I am. But I could be the person to take your business from here to there without you knowing. But you didn't want to have that conversation with me because I didn't look a certain way. So you need to be able to just be open. It's not about I'm connecting to this person because of that reason. The whole point of networking is to network with the people that's in the room. I really hate when people network and they have a conversation and the first thing they say is, well, let me get your social media. Okay. What if I didn't have a social media? You're trying to validate the credibility of the information that I'm giving you as a person due to my social media, probably my following, the type of content I'm posting, because these are the criteria, the superficial criteria that society has put on people. But I think we as people, we need to just understand that when you get into the real place, real, human to human, we're having a conversation. We're not worried about what happens on the internet. You need to base it off of real life, because the next person that could do the biggest thing for your business may not even have a social media account, but understand you, met you as a good person, understand your goals, your values and morals, and what you're trying to do with your business, and they wanted to invest in you. and that just took you from here to there, and that was it. So I think being open goes with just that whole line of being intentional. You don't have to, overly think that, oh no, I can't talk to them because they don't whatever a certain way. Hopefully that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with some things you said. Deidre was putting the quotes that she agreed with from you. I agree with a lot of things that you said. And I guess the only metric you should have, or not metric, but the only thing you should be worried about is being open and then seeing who you genuinely connect with.
Right.
And, you go from there to see how you guys can be of benefit to each other,
Yeah.
how you guys relate, and how that relationship matures, right? Obviously, everybody that you meet, you're not going to click with. There's some people that you're going to be like, oh, girl, I do not do that, so we just going to be okay.
Yeah.
But I have ran into some people who do ask for social media, and then based on what they see, they don't want to connect with you. I've also had people who either I have been having conversations with, and then they'll give me their social media account, and I go on there, and let's say they have like 5,000 followers, they'll immediately make an excuse as I'm looking at it, and I'm like, girl, and it's funny because in these like spaces, I don't like Instagram for real. And at a certain time, like I wasn't even like posting consistently. So when I went on your Instagram, it's because you gave it to me. You told me to go look.
Right.
So when I went to go look, and then you happen to look at mine, and you see that I have whatever amount, I don't know, 20 something, 27, 20, was it 27? I don't even know. Because I don't keep up with it. It's so far from my head. I value my YouTube subscribers more.
Right.
But when it comes to like that, I've heard of people like making, or heard and seen people making immediate like excuses and apologizing. And most recently, on the flip side of that, I've seen someone not want to talk to certain people because of who she felt like she was. And who she felt like in the room they weren't, right? Yeah. So I went to an event this past week. I went to an event, and I'm not going to put this person out there, but she's a YouTuber. She's been on YouTube for years. Like, this is someone that I watched before when I was in college, because she used to do content surrounding her college experience and stuff like that. And now, like, years later, right? She's not doing college content because, she graduated, but whatever content she's doing now, I don't know. Don't keep up with her like that. I don't follow her on Instagram or anything like that either, but she is still like a YouTuber. She is still doing that actively. She has like, I checked, she has like maybe 200 and something thousand subscribers. Okay. Yeah, on YouTube, maybe 270, 240. I don't know. Something like that, which honestly, I got 110, and I've been doing YouTube since 2020, or was it 2021? And like I said, I've been watching this person since college. So already there, if we really want to talk metrics or whatever, and if we really want to be for real, we're talking numbers, it's like, you need to humble yourself, right? That's one. But two, in the space that we were in, right, I just felt like some of the like I was hearing like side conversations of just how the approach was with certain people. And then I went to talk to this individual myself. Now, at the event, there was a theme for the event, but per usual, I do a lot of stuff last minute. So I ordered my stuff last minute, and Amazon did not come through. So I'm at this event in my favorite pair of jeans and my new t-shirt that I got from Milano, right? So I'm in here with my Milano de Rouge t-shirt on. I got my jeans, which are from Fashion Nova, my favorite boyfriend jeans. I look cute. I got my bag. Like, I look cute, but I'm not in theme. And I also look like I could have been just running errands, and I came here really quick and popped up. So I don't look my usual extra self, right? So, like, right now, I got on the outfit that we wore to InvestFest on one of the days. Andy has on his suit that he wore. So when you see me, like, naturally heels, makeup, hair done up, lashes, the whole thing, I look like somebody you could talk to, right? But in that time, in that space, I didn't wear makeup to this event, right? Because I was focused on finalizing some stuff for my event that day, right? So I'm in the midst of planning an event right now. And I just felt like in that space, it was more important for me to do things for the people who needed to get their early exclusive access tickets versus spending an hour on my makeup and then trying to spend an hour or two running around to the mall just to match this theme. So I said, screw it. I'm going to go with no makeup. My hair got braids in it. I'm going to throw on my Milano Di Rouge shirt. And I'm going to have my nice pair of jeans. And all of my purses, for the most part, are nice unless they came from Fashion Nova. So I threw on, it was actually this, was it this purse? Yeah, oh, yeah, it was this purse. I had my Kurt Geiger purse on, or whatever. So I'm like, all right, I look doable, right? You know, I'm stepping in here. And so I went to speak to this YouTuber, and the first time I said something to her, it was kind of like she ignored it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to say something again. So then I said something to her, and this time I said, I'm going to compliment her because it seems like you want people to compliment you. So I'm going to compliment you. And when I complimented her, then she paid attention to me. And then she was like, oh, yeah, well, thank you, girl, and da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's cute. You know, it looks similar to something I wore the other day, da-da-da-da. But I have the dress version. Like, if you want the dress version, it seems like that's your style. You know, I'm going to show it to you. You could grab it, da-da-da. So she was like, oh, okay. So I showed it to her or whatever. She was like, that's cute. That's cute. Turns around, goes about her business. I was just like, all right, well, you didn't want to talk to me. I guess I don't look up to par. And the other people that she kind of shut down also didn't look up to par. I also overheard her like introducing herself in a way like, girl, you don't know who I am? Why would you even ask me what I do? Like, you don't know who I am in this space, right? Mind you, this goes back to be, when it goes back, we still on tip one. This is what being intentional about knowing why you're in the room and who is in the room matters. Because the type of event that we went to wasn't really an event that, it was an event about getting out of being stuck in a content rut, right? It was something that I signed up for a month or so ago. And so now I'm not in that content rut anymore, but it's all about getting out of a content rut. The people who were there, they're focused on getting unstuck out of their minds. They're not focused on who is going to be there that got the most followers, or even focus on, if anything, they don't care about what you got going on content-wise because they're stuck themselves. Mm-hmm. So read the room. Right. And so that was just like, girl, what? Like, it wasn't upsetting, but then as I played it back in my head and I told you about it, I was just like, girl, what? So I was just like, all right, bet, whatever. Now, what she didn't know is that I'm also a YouTuber. And if she had actually continued that conversation, you don't know how we could have helped each other, right? Because currently I'm a YouTuber, a YouTube partner. I'm in the YouTube Partner Manager program. Like, we have worked with a couple of people in terms of brand deals, not so much this year because we've been chill about it. But, you know, I work with a couple of big companies, in my opinion, right? I mean, I feel like everybody knows a lot of the companies that I've worked with. If you're subscribed to my channel, you see the companies that I've mentioned in videos and all that type of stuff. So I feel like there would have been a benefit there if we actually communicated. You could have probably helped me, right, when it comes to lifestyle and all that stuff, because I'm trying to polish that and segue into that as well. And I could have possibly helped you, because the funny thing about it, right, when it comes to a lot of these YouTubers that are out here, and I know I went on the rant. I always go on a rant. Jesus. When it comes to a lot of these YouTubers out here, whether they're in different lanes or whether they're in this, like a similar educational lane, I guess, I don't know. I don't like putting myself in an educational lane because it's boring over there. But when it comes to that, when they talk about how much they make on YouTube, I am always flabbergasted. And you can attest to this, because there are some people who have double, triple, quadruple the amount of subscribers, in addition to triple, quadruple the amount of views sometimes that I have. And when they talk about how much they made, I'm like, girl, what? I made that last month. Or, girl, what? I made 3 times that much last month, right? So, like, literally, somebody who had, I think one time, somebody had like 40,000 or something like that. And not 40,000, 400,000. And at the time, I wasn't at 100,000 yet. I was maybe at like 65, 70K. And I was bringing in $6,000 or $7,000 on YouTube, right? There's something I'm doing right that's making me more money than you're doing, right? And so if this person is in that same boat, there's something that I can teach you to help you come up, and there's something you could teach me. But you're too worried about being superficial that you just lost that opportunity. And maybe it's not a loss to you, but at the end of the day, like, that's just an example of a connection that could have helped both of us, but because you were superficial and you didn't read the room and you were too full of yourself, you missed out on that. So I just had to add that.
No, and to the beginning of that whole rant, Deidre said the exact same thing. Sometimes you're gonna start having those conversations with people, and you'll immediately notice that this is not who you need to connect with, and you got to make that decision yourself as you talk to. Within the first 30 seconds, you can realize like this is one, the person is not paying attention to you. Like you can tell. Read verbal cues. Just read your talk and their body language. Don't waste your time trying to push when you realize that person, there's no value added there. But you were the one that was open, which is perfectly fine. But you can't make someone want to speak to you if they're acting in that superficial sense. So that is completely fine. If they're in that, you can move away and you can cut it short, and you'll figure it out. You can meet that person 2 years from now, and then they come up to you. And I would love to share that story. I'll bring it up because that's what shows. That's what humbles that person, because you're like, we had an opportunity. I spoke to you 2 years ago. We could have connected before in this sense. I met you before. I love that line. I haven't met you before. What's your name? No, we met. We met 2 years ago at the event. We met. You probably don't remember, but we met already. And it's like, oh wow! But then now you want to come up to me, so. You could be very mindful and constant of that. Yeah.
So that was the first tip. Be intentional. If that tip was helpful, or just hearing our conversation about it was helpful, put helpful in the chat. Put helpful, all caps, in the chat. If tip 1 was helpful. Tip 1 was be intentional. We got 4 more. I'm not gonna go on any more rants. Maybe I'm not gonna go on any more rants. We're gonna keep moving so we can get through these tips. Hey Jamila. It's Jamila. It's Jamila. I said Jamila. Jamila. Hey, Jamila. So put helpful in the chat if tip 1 was good. Put helpful in the chat if tip 1 was good. And then let's move on to tip 2 while they put that in the chat. So tip 2 that we have for networking, Andy was trying to fight me when it came to this tip because I put look the part, and he did not want me to put it on there because go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I completely agree.
I said it right the first time. Jamila.
Yeah. No, I agree with Chanel when she put look the part.
No, you
there's a line there because I don't want people to confuse it with not looking a certain way to be able to talk to someone. So for example, I wear suits all the time. Like that is my thing. Looking the part to me when I'm gonna meet someone, I'm probably going to have on a suit. That's comfortable for me. That's normal.
Not if you're at the beach.
But if I decided that I was going to wear shorts and a t-shirt that day, does that mean I can't go up to that same person if I didn't have on the suit?
No, but what I meant by look the part. So what I mean by look the part, it goes back to tip 1, which why I put it at tip 2. Know why you're there.
Right.
Also, be intentional about the rooms that you get into, right? Once again, going back to the Christian conference, if I'm going to go to a Christian conference, right? Deidre said, she's agreeing with you. She said it kind of goes back to the superficial thing. No, I don't mean that. I don't mean like look a certain way, like right. So that somebody can accept you. What I mean is if I'm going to a Christian conference, I shouldn't be wearing booty shorts and a crop top.
Yeah.
Like why would I
right.
It doesn't make sense for me.
Right.
Like intentionally I'm putting myself in a certain space because I am in a certain space in life right. And I'm trying to get to a certain goal. And whether that's to reignite my flame of faith or whatever the case may be, like I don't want to step into that room being that. If anything, I'm going to be a little bit conservative, right? So it's more about, okay, knowing what space you're in. At InvestFest, we putting that ish on somewhat, right? Because it's 20,000 people there. For the most part, we're ethnic, right? And a lot of our culture is about dressing and
Right.
looking real good. So
Right.
we gonna come and we're gonna put on our Sunday's best,
Right.
right? And so that's fine. Like it's all about, okay, if you're in a certain room, dress in a certain part. If you're gonna meet somebody at the beach, I don't expect you to wear a suit.
Right.
So when I say look the part, it's like know what room you're in,
Right.
and be cautious of that and make sure that you dress accordingly to that. Not only that, but this is something that people need to realize. Look the part means smell the part.
Hygiene. We're not going to skip that.
Yes.
Hygiene.
It
that
means
is important and crucial.
Right. I don't care if you have on a polo t-shirt and jeans when everybody else has on collared shirts and ties. Like, for example, the event I went to, like I just said, everybody was in these themed outfits,
Right.
like 99% of them. My stuff didn't come, and I was doing stuff for my event that's coming up, but I still came. New shirt, pop the tag off in the car.
She did.
New Milano Di Rouge shirt, jeans fly, Tory Burnt sandals on, cute bag, hair braids, but I did my edges, like teeth brush, Listerine, the whole thing. Although I don't match the theme, I still look presentable for the room I'm in. I didn't come in there in like a bathing suit top and a bathing suit cover up or anything like that. I still look presentable, right?
And that's
and I still smell good because I keep perfume in the car, y'all. I keep perfume in the car. Sorry, babe.
No,
you keep cologne in the car too now, too.
You need to.
Yeah, he keeps cologne in the car as
well.
Gotta
keep packing gum on you.
Pack of gum, all of that in the car. I got really into perfumes like 2020, I think, actually, or 2020 or 2021. I got really into perfumes, and I went on a perfume shopping spree. So I got really nice perfumes, and I love them, but I always keep one in the car. Because you never know. But what were you gonna say? That's what I mean by look the part.
That's what I was saying. The reason we had is because you had to elaborate some more on what that meant. But I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah. Okay, so we gonna keep tip 2 as look the part and smell the part. I see hygiene is everything. Yes, Cheyenne. We talked about it before we got into this, actually. Cheyenne was at InvestFest too. So Cheyenne, how was InvestFest for you? What was your pros and your cons? But yes, Deidre, hygiene is most important as well. Presentation is everything. Self-love yourself. Yes, because think about it. Your first impression is what counts. So in a room like InvestFest, for example, 20,000 people, let's say you meet 5,000 of them. I don't know. You're making 5,000 first impressions. That matters.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So that's why I wanted to put that. Okay. You got something to add to that before we go to tip 3?
No, we can move 3.
Okay, because that was my tip. So tip 3 is now your tip, which was have meaningful conversations. So go ahead.
Okay. I think I'm going to use the example on this one. So I brought it up earlier today a little bit unintentional.
The gun lady?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to bring it up. I'm going to bring up an example of something that happened at InvestFest about having meaningful conversations, right? So, as Chanel said, this is what we were on day 2, if I'm not mistaken. So I was walking around and, someone, I think, complimented my look from one of the vendors. Like
everybody was.
Yeah, this is true. I didn't say that. When I come out doing something, you know what I'm saying? So somebody complimented my suit from the back as I was walking past, and then she came and tapped me and brought me over to her booth, in which that was a very valiant effort. I'm walking around meeting people. Let me go over there and have a conversation with her, right? So her booth is well decorated. There's a lot going on. Some things on the table. Some things are hooked up. But she starts talking to me about this crossbody bag, which is very unique, nice. It's nice. It's leather. And within the first 30 seconds of the conversation, she's telling me that the body bag is for concealed weapons. I immediately told her, I don't own any weapons. This is not for me. She disregarded everything I said, disregarded that whole statement, and continued to talk about the features of the bag that was tailored to a person that had a concealed weapon. And I even think I brought it up again. I said, yeah, but I this is not something like in my lane. She puts the bag on me as if, well, let me just try it on you to see if this is something that you would like.
The bag that's supposed to hold the gun. Concealed weapon.
There is no part of this conversation that resonates with my life. There is nothing that I'm going to do with this bag, no matter how hard you try to sell it to me, because I do not own a weapon, nor am I going to buy a weapon because now I have a bag that can hold a weapon. It confused me. So we're at this point of asking and talking about having meaningful conversations and going back to being intentional. As you notice, like these tips are connecting in that sense. Understand who you're speaking with. Understand and listen to what they're saying. Understand and ask the questions that make sense to you, and make sure that you are speaking to somebody that has substance to you into your life. Not saying that their time is not important, but your time is just as important. So don't sit there and just take it all in when you have other things to do. You can speak to somebody else, but just be in that moment. Be purposeful in what you're asking them, and if that person is not listening to you, going back to the body languages and things of that nature, you need to be able to move away from that part, because that one example to me, it made no sense. Like, she walked away asking me if I was going to purchase, and I told her no, I didn't want a bag, and not that it rubbed me the wrong way, but she just didn't listen to me whatsoever, and it was just somebody that was pushy, trying to make a sale. Yeah. So yeah, that was the story on that one.
Yeah. And somebody said she had a disregard for her customer. That's actually what I was gonna say too. Yeah. That goes back to how you build your brand, what you know about your brand, and how you can pitch your brand. And that's why it's super important at the very beginning stages. Heck, even if you didn't do it at the beginning stages, and you're guilty of just you running with your business right now, and you haven't, or you never took the time to actually build out your brand foundation and practice certain things like a brand pitch, do that now, because that comes in handy. When you're at events, you need to know all of the value points that you want to deliver to the person that you meet. Right. But two, you need to also know how to make it conversational enough, and also know how to do real live research, like a kind of like an interview style conversation, but you make it flow as though y'all are just friends. Mm-hmm. You need to know how to do that in order to learn things about that person, so you can see if they fit the profile of your actual bullseye, right? You want to diagnose them. So what I like to do when I go to events, it's more like, what are the problems that you're experiencing? Like, after I get to know about you, we connect on something that's similar. If I see, let's say that I had a product geared towards getting new moms who wanted their time back or something, right? Mm-hmm. Something that I may ask them once I confirm that they're a new mom is do you find it hard to, do your makeup and look cute for a date night or whatever, when, the baby needs your attention, is crying, Yeah, girl, that's happened to me. Just the other day, I found a Tinder date, whatever, or whatever the case may be. They go to talking, you key, you relate if you could possibly relate, and be like, yeah, that happened to me a lot of times, and this actually helped me a lot, and this is what I was able to do because of it, blah, blah. Still not in a salesy way, more like intertwining it into my story. And then naturally the person's going to be curious, right? And we actually did that. I think it was, I don't remember who it was, but it happened to somebody that came to Kai's booth where she was talking about something, and I heard her wanting to go away. And I said, girl, it actually grew my hair or something like that, whatever. And she was like, what? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, and it's really good for edges. During my wedding process, my edges kept getting ripped off, this helped grow my edges back. I put these, did these treatments, whatever. She started talking about it and what ripped out her edges and all this type of stuff. And then afterwards, pass to the Kai, you handle it, you close it, whatever. Right. But you have to know who your target is and really develop that. Somebody said great conversation outline. You're welcome. But yeah, so that was tip 3, which was have meaningful conversations. Okay, so 2 more tips. Tip 4, when it comes to networking, is possibly one of the most important behind hygiene, is follow up. Andy was saying earlier that a lot of people ask for your Instagrams as a way to say they're going to stay in touch, and they really never do. And you're probably guilty of this. If you ever went to an event and you met somebody and you're like, girl, yeah, I'm going to follow you, follow me back. It does absolutely nothing if none of you guys follow up with each other. Andy actually is an advocate for like getting people's number and all that type of stuff. I'm not doing that. It takes a while for me to give you my number, or a while for like, I got to fill you out first. Like I said earlier, I got to fill you out first. And so if I don't know like what your vibe is like, or what your intention is at first, I don't want you having my number. We can grow into that. And I'm perfectly fine with that. But when it comes to you getting somebody's social media and then that's it, you leave that day, let's say you flew in, you fly back home, you never see that person again. You never really reach out to them. Maybe you like or comment on a couple of posts. But if that person is an avid event attendee, like they're not going to remember who you are
at all.
So when it comes to that, it's important for you to follow up. Like, hey girl, we met at InvestFest and we talked about like our kids and how they always running around doing the craziest things. Let's stay in touch. Or if you guys said that you were going to work on something, maybe you then tell that person, let's hold each other accountable some way, right? So going back to the same event that had the theme where I met the YouTuber at or whatever. Well, I didn't meet her, but where I had the encounter with the YouTuber or whatever, that same event, I happened to meet a wife coach. We had a deep conversation. Within that conversation, we talked about us taking the time out to spend that time, because it was a long weekend, with our husbands, right? And so I challenged her, she challenged me. I went ahead and I did that challenge. So what I did today is I tagged her in the story of me actually doing the challenge. And then once she sees it, my intention is to say, hey, yeah, did you complete yours as well? Like, did you actually spend time with your husband this weekend? Obviously, because it was something that intimate, like you spending time with your husband, we wanted to start right away. I didn't follow up with her like right after the event. I waited. Now we're on Monday. The weekend is wrapping up. Now I'm going to follow up with you. The same thing I can say for InvestFest. I met a lot of people at InvestFest. One of the people that I finally met in person at InvestFest was Jance, right? Me and Jance, we have a similar audience. And so pretty much if you know her, you know me. If you know me, you know her. But we had never actually met each other in person before. So that time when we met in person, what I appreciated about our encounter is that it wasn't just a, hey girl, let's take a picture and let's dip. It was more like, hey girl, let's have a conversation. She asked like where I was headed. I told her, oh, I'm probably gonna go to this session, da 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 da. She was like, all right, cool. She tagged along to the session. We went to Kai's booth first. She bought something from Kai, which was dope. Talked to Kai a little bit, and I forgot if there were other people there. I know Kennedy was in the booth. I don't know if there were other people in the booth too, but she talked to whoever was in the booth at the time, talked to you. We walked through madness, went to a session together, sat next to each other, like kikied a little bit. And so we met and we actually like hung out. I appreciate that. And I told you that too, because a lot of times when people meet me in this space, it's very like, oh, hey girl, yeah, let's take a picture, and they move on. It's never really like a conversation or time to actually develop some type of something. So I appreciate that we were able to do that. We spent like an hour and some change together, which was really dope. And I followed up afterwards. I know that she doesn't live here in Atlanta, obviously. And I know that she was flying back in the morning, didn't know what time her flight was. But what I did after InvestFest that night, after everything was said and done, was I DM'd her and I said, don't know when your flight is, wishing you a safe flight. But whenever you do return to Atlanta, because if we're being for real, Atlanta is the business capital, especially when it comes to Black folks.
The Mecca.
So I said, whenever you return to Atlanta, let's link up. I want to plan something. And I'm not the type to just eat. So I'm not going to just plan dinner. That's why I didn't say dinner, lunch, nothing. I want to plan something that's really fun or whatever for us to hang out. And then boom, even after that, I was on Instagram last week for real. I needed a break. My social media, I told y'all, I have a social battery. So I needed a break last week. But when I did get back on Instagram, I made sure to go watch her story, engage with it, do all the things. So I say all that like Deidre said, I hope y'all catching these gems. I say all that because it's the follow-up that counts, right? A lot of the people who I call my business besties are my business besties because we followed up somehow, some way. From the mastermind in DR, literally someone said, let's create a group. I said, y'all, I don't text back for real, but I'm gonna try my hardest. They said, okay, we're gonna make it on WhatsApp. I said, that's worse, but I'm gonna try my hardest. They made the group. They're in, they're in the WhatsApp, and I literally tell myself every week, let me hop into the WhatsApp, see if anything was posted. If nothing was posted, I'm gonna post something else. One thing that I told myself is because I like to go on workations and I haven't gone on one, I told them, hey, I'm gonna plan a workation for us. If y'all wanna go at the end of the year, let's do like a little retreat style, let's unwind and let's plan, our year for next year, 2024. Everybody was down. All right, bet. So now because someone took initiative to follow up and create that group, we're in contact. And now because I took initiative to then, it segues into our next tip, which is execution. Yep. I took initiative to execute. Now we're planning a retreat where we're going to link up again, where we're going to be able to be in that same mindset again. And one of these ladies literally had just had her first 6-figure month. And I'm sure she had her second at this point, had made over $100,000 in that month. I want to be around that when I'm planning for my year next year, right? And same thing goes with Jance, because I told about the execution thing. Yes, we have a similar audience, but we also do different things. It's hard at first glance, it's hard for you to see that, but when you really dive into it, I really focus on brand, and that's what I focus on, y'all. And she focuses on the whole boutique marketing thing, got that in the bag. She got it. But when you sit and you look at, okay, what I got going on over here and what she got going over there, like, I'm sure that there's some benefit that we can have to each other. So following up is always important. And then you take tip number 5.
Execution, right?
Yes.
No, tip number 5 is execution. And obviously we just talked about networking and following up. Execution is not just you following up because you're gonna respond to a person or send them a message. There are times you have a lot of conversations with people. There's information that's being shared between you and the person. There's a lot of things. There are a lot of good information. There are good things that you can take from that conversation that you can implement into your business the very next day. Whether it's a tip on an app like Structure that you can use to outline your weeks. Like, I use this, I use that. Oh, wow, that's great. The next day, you should go ahead and download that. Execute, put that into your life if you really feel like that's a great thing to do. And then when you're doing it, if you want to shout out the person, whatever the case may be, and say, hey, I use said app and I really love what it does. This is you completing the cycle and continuing the cycle of networking the right way. So you need to always execute. The information that you received that day, if you do nothing with it, there's no reason for you to have had it. Like, it means absolutely nothing. Somebody said this after InvestFest, and I thought it was hilarious because it's true for a lot of people. You go to a lot of events, whether it's an InvestFest type of event, that big, that magnitude, or a small event. A lot of people are usually having a notebook, or maybe there's an iPad that you're writing out your notes. What happens after that Saturday and Sunday after the event? You close that iPad and close that notebook. It may take you a couple of months before you open that notebook and actually review those notes. Don't let that be you. Look at the notes. Look at the points from that you need to execute and implement in your business. The value that you invested in yourself for whatever that event was, the value that you're going to get out of it is the execution that you do from the information that you've gotten from that event. Whether it's through speakers, to talking to individuals. If you do nothing with it, you might as well hand that notebook to the next person you see because it has no value to you. So that's what I mean by execution to the highest degree. Always, always execute. If you don't do it that Monday or the next day, create a plan. When you're going to do it. Maybe you're not in a position to do whatever it is that you need to execute, but outline it. Maybe you say in the next 30 days, I'm going to do this. But for me to get to this point, I need to do this so I can be able to get to this point and elevate myself, my business, the people around me to get to the next point. So always execute with the information that you got.
Yeah, agreed. And I think some of what I said before was it aligned with execution as well.
Yep.
And so before I get into my last little tidbit, and add on to the execution. If these tips were really good, type juicy in the comments. So if you enjoyed these tips so far, so the first one was be intentional, the second was look the part, third was having meaningful conversation, 4 was follow up, and then 5 was execution. If you felt like these tips were really good for networking at entrepreneurship events, put juicy in the comments. Someone said, Andy, is that the structured daily planner?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, he said, I didn't know you used it.
You use it.
Yeah, I use it.
Yeah, it's my example.
Oh. But yes, put juicy in the chat if you felt like these tips are really good. And so to add on to that execution thing, like he said, what you learn from events, make sure that you apply it, because I think that a lot of people end up going to these events and you learn things honestly from whoever's putting on the event or whoever's teaching, but you also learn things from networking with people too. You're either going to learn what someone is doing that you can apply to your life and your business, or you're going to get an idea from someone you network with that you never thought about doing before. You're going to develop an idea, or you're going to learn from the actual like teacher, professor, speaker themselves. It is so important that you execute on that thing. I execute all the time. I don't care what it is. I'm going to execute on it, especially when I feel like that is going to change my life in some way. And so speaking about execution, one of the things that I committed to executing on from going to the DR trip with millionaires, which was a mastermind with my millionaire coach. One thing that we all committed to, and that I committed to having this year, is my very first event, right? This is an event that I want to make sure that it's transformative. So I didn't want to have like a super packed conference style event. That's something that I do want to have in the future. But as of right now, what I was led to do was actually to transform someone, right? Transform people. And so I was very intentional about the size of the room that I wanted, because I wanted to give a very high valued experience to the people who were there. I want to walk away knowing everyone's name, everyone's story, if I could possibly can, if y'all share it with me, everyone's goals. So that way I know in my head, okay, this person wanted to do this. Maybe a week or two later, I'm following up, right? Or I'm remembering what that is and I'm checking. I'm doing my research to see if you're actually doing what you said you're going to do. That's the type of event that I wanted to have for my very first event. So I wanted to make sure that I limited it to 25 to 30 people, right? I go back and forth between 25 and 30, but 25 to 30 people. And so that first event is happening in Atlanta, of course. I live here, and it is amazing when it comes to business, entrepreneurship, and the whole nine. And so in Atlanta in October, it's a 2-day event, October 19th and 20th. I am hosting my very first event. It's called the Brand Takeoff, and it's pretty much for anyone who you have tried to do this business thing before and you kept falling flat on your face, either because you just couldn't get the branding right, you couldn't get, people to buy your product, you just couldn't put the pieces together. That's one. Or you're someone who you want to start this business, but you keep stopping yourself, you keep hesitating, or you just aren't taking the next steps because you can't find the right product idea. You have no idea how you're going to get people to buy. You have no idea how you're going to build a brand that people love, that people remember, that will create this generational wealth that you dream of, that you envision, right? You have this ultimate life goal, right? Right now, I call my vision board ultimate life board. I have a digital one that I use as my ultimate life board, and pretty much you have an ultimate life, right? You have your ultimate goals. You have what your ultimate house looks like, cars looks like, family, your family time, your bank account, all of that. But you know that this business is the missing piece that's going to get you there. You know that that brand is the missing piece to what's going to get you there. That's what we're talking about at the Brand Takeoff. So we're really diving deep into how to create a profitable product and then build a memorable and profitable brand based off of that product, right? And this is not just physical products. This is digital products as well. I've done both. I've also done services. And yes, I am a content creator and micro influencer. And technically, there's ways that you can monetize there too, Cheyenne. So for the 2 days, we are going deep, right? We're talking mindset first because I need y'all to level up your mindset. Then after that, we are going deep so that way you can walk away with an actual product idea that you are going to execute on. You're also going to get all of the pieces to actually creating and building that brand. And then we're going to talk about some of the logistics to make sure that you have a competitive edge when it comes to your brand, when it comes to your pricing, when it comes to you even picking your vendors, because technically you should be picking your vendors and your manufacturers based off of certain things that you know about your brand and certain things that you should want your product to deliver on, so that way you give your audience a proper brand experience. Not only that, but we're going to talk about content, right? We always got to talk about content. Content is king in today's world. So we're going to talk about content. And then I got some special guests, right? So I have one person who is coming in on one of the days who we are going to pick her brain interview style. She has gone from having a job and starting a business to full-time entrepreneur in a little bit over a year, which is amazing. So we're going to pick her brain. And then for the VIPs, they get to come to an exclusive, all expense paid steakhouse and seafood dinner. And I have a couple of my business besties coming there, and they are all amazing. It's an amazing lineup, right? We got somebody who is a lawyer to some of the biggest and best brands. We got someone who is popping when it comes to her product brand. She got celebrities getting her stuff. We got someone else who is popping and has a ton of followers when it comes to social media and just being able to pick their brains and learn from them. And I mean, obviously, I'm going to be at the table too. Andy's going to be at the table, and he knows a lot about Alibaba, vendors, custom things, all of that. It's just going to be an amazing experience, an amazing 2-day experience. And if you watch this from the beginning, you heard me say that I am extra. I'm a big theme girl. So there's a theme to this event. It's going to be cute. There's networking opportunities built into the 2 days. It is going to be amazing. You are going to leave with an action plan to change your life, honestly, with your ultimate brand, your ultimate product. And then you're really going to create that ultimate life that you want to live. Catching flights, heck, doing all the things that you want to do, honestly. So I put the waitlist link in the description box. As of right now, the tickets are only open to certain people who have either been current or past clients or students of mine, and they got a special invite Friday,
Yeah,
2 or 3 days ago. Yeah. They got a special invite. So if you're watching this and you are a current student, current client, or a recent student or client of mine, make sure that you check your email inbox, because those exclusive tickets go bye-bye tomorrow at midnight. So we slash some dollars off of that, hundreds of dollars at that. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you grab your ticket if you are a current student or a current client of mine. Get your exclusive early bird ticket now. And then for everyone else who isn't a current student or current client or recent student or client of mine, join the waitlist by clicking the link in my description box, and you'll be alerted when tickets go on sale. It's really, really soon, but you want to make sure that you grab it, because like I said, it's only 25 to 30 people that I want in the room, and I don't want to go over that. I'm not capping when I say that. I really want it to be transformational, and I want you guys to walk away with a specific plan for your brand, okay? So yeah, this was good, Andy. This was good. Did y'all enjoy this? I know that I saw some juicies in the chat. Did y'all enjoy this? Deidre said, I need a contract lawyer. You need to come to the event as a VIP then, so that way you can meet that lawyer. Was this good? If this was good, put good in the chat. And the cool thing is we talked about networking, and this is the perfect opportunity, especially if you're someone like me, coming into a space where it's not a whole lot of people. Yeah. You can just, challenge yourself to meet 5 people a day on both days. Now you just walked away with 10 new business besties.
Small wins, man.
Yes. small wins. Like I started my strides with a small event like that too. I think Maya had 40, 45 at the event I went to. Yeah. And that's where I met a couple of my good business besties right now. Toko said excited for the in-person event. Yes, Toko, I'm excited to see you too. I hope you got your early bird access ticket. I know a couple of people got theirs, but I didn't check the name. So hope you got your ticket so that you could get those savings, Toko. Deidre said, I did, glad I joined. Yes, good. I'm glad that you joined too. Any questions for me or Andy before we hop off? And so the brand takeoff, it's happening. The name is so cool. Happy that we came up with it. It has I just can't wait to say the meaning of the name, like after everything kind of unfolds at the event. But yeah, the brand takeoff. The link is in the description to join the wait list for the public tickets. But like I said, check your emails if you are a current student or current client of mine, because you got an exclusive invite. You should have. Any questions? Any questions? Any comments? Question is, what are we eating? Who didn't think it? Really sure probably should be included in the list. I'm sorry, I can't make it. Oh yes, Glennis, I know you're international. You're international and work. It's cool, Glennis. We shall meet some other time, hopefully. But I know you would have enjoyed it. Yeah, what are we gonna eat? That was my question, literally.
I don't know. Guess
and probably find out. Yeah. And whatever we eat, we should bring it back because I want to watch the documentary on HBO.
What time is it? 9:32. Okay.
Yeah. So documentary. Because Armand is on there.
Grab it.
I love Armand. Oh, by the way, guys, give this live a thumbs up, please. It helps the algorithm. Also, last little tidbit. Next week, we are doing episode 10. It is the last episode of this season. So you want to make sure that you join on that episode, because not only will we be having a good conversation like always, but I'm also going to be asking you guys to give me some of your feedback so that way we can make sure that we include your feedback into season 2 of Hustle Talks. Okay? All right. Oh, and by the way, no, never mind. Never mind. I was going to say something else, but never mind. I forgot that the tickets aren't public yet. But join the wait list so that way you can do it. Toko says, I'm working on it. Girl, you better beat the clock, because once the clock goes down, it's going to the regular price and you're going to be with the general pop. And we don't want that. So make sure that you go ahead and get that. Toko, make sure that you look at the payment plans as well. There's payment plans for both general and VIP. So look at those payment plans and you'll see. Very doable for the payment plan options, okay? All right, y'all. This was good. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next week, Monday, for episode 10. I'll be alone. Andy won't be here, so say bye to Andy. Bye, y'all. Have a great rest of your night.
See ya.